Welcome back to Razmafzar TV. Welcome to all my viewers. Today, I'm going to have and to interview Usman from London, United Kingdom. First of all, welcome to Razmafzar channel, Usman. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm a huge fan of the panel, and it's honestly a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you very much, Usman. So, Usman, before we go ahead, I just want to say that I'm really happy that you joined the Razmafzar team. So, because I interview people who are members, my members, but at the same time other people. But so you are going to join. You joined the Razmafzar team. So, welcome to Razmafzar. First of all, before we go ahead, please let us know about yourself, who you are, and about your background, please. Maybe we just start with your educational background.
I studied my undergrad degree, a Bachelor of Science in Business Management, and I obtained that last year from SOAS University of London. And SOAS it's a really great university, it's right in the heart of London. And the best thing about SOAS for me was that it's about a 2 minutes walk from the British Museum. So in between my lectures, I'd always find myself going to the museum and checking out some of the fantastic miniatures there as well. And currently I'm studying towards an ACA qualification in accountancy. So my day-to-day work involves a lot of maths, but nonetheless, it's still really enjoyable at the same time as well.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please. Excuse me.
Yeah, no worries, Doctor. And so my martial arts journey is quite an interesting one. So to start off with, from the age of 10 to 16, I've been heavily involved in sports. I played a lot of football and athletics. And it was actually my dad. My dad, when he was younger, he was a terrific athlete himself. And it was his sort of goal for me to become a professional footballer. So as a result, from the age of 10 to 16, I was playing football maybe 5 to 6 times a week. And I had some great success on the way. I played for several professional teams. And I also represented my district in long distance running as well. But my football journey sort of came to an abrupt end at the age of roughly 16. I actually broke my ankle, and as a result of that, I was out of football for about a year. But as they say, when one door closes, another door opens. And I think that's exactly what happened with my sporting journey, because one of my good friends, who's a multiple-time London champion in boxing, he told me to come to the boxing gym with him. So when he told me that, I was like, I might as well give it a shot. I'm not doing a sport at the moment. And I went to the boxing gym with him and I completely fell in love with the sport. And I've been doing boxing now for about 5 to 6 years. Every day I try to get to the boxing gym. If I don't get to the boxing gym, I do a workout at home. And along that journey as well, I've sort of transitioned into Muay Thai. I like to incorporate Muay Thai sessions as well. And also, Doctor, I've been doing horse riding and archery for the past 3 to 4 years as well.
Fascinating. Yeah. Okay, let me just go back to your sport journey because it's fascinating. I'm always very, very big fan, as I have been doing different martial arts, and one thing which is extremely important is that people have athletic background. Unfortunately, and I say it openly, some people might not like it. Unfortunately, in the sword scene and also in the archery scene, there are many people who completely lack any athletic ability. And basically, it's impossible to do that. Some people like it or dislike it. These activities, if you want to fight with weapons, the first weapon is your fitness. So you don't need to just pick up a sword if you don't have fitness. This is really funny. I was talking to Hayden Lewis, who is an American veteran, and he also says it very, very interesting. Even when you want to shoot with weapons, you need to have physical fitness. Shooting. Right, with weapons, firearms, you need to be fit. And now with a sword, you don't need to be fit to do what? You understand? So this is for us for me, very important. Just back to football, just because Usman, many of my viewers are either Iranians or Americans. What Usman means with football is soccer, right? So just guys, because I'm sure everyone was okay. He did American football. No, guys, in Europe, football we say it to soccer, we call it football. And actually, you guys should call it football, by the way. But that's another note. Is another note for that. But okay, so and what I realized, because my Nima, who does also Razmafzar, he also plays soccer or football, as you say, and he also constantly gets injured. I always say, fighting with Muay Thai, Kyokushin, he gets less injuries or he does wrestling, gets less injuries than playing this damn game. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's completely true, doctor, because that's one thing I realized because I've sort of transitioned to boxing Muay Thai now. I barely get any injuries, but when I was playing football, I was literally weekly I was getting injured as well. So I think that is something that happens a lot in football because you're getting kicked a lot, and you're also falling a lot as well, which can happen. But definitely in football, there's a lot of injuries, doctor.
A lot of injuries, and I think maybe it's because you have high speed and you have special shoes, and you basically do not expect to be hit. Right? In Muay Thai or in boxing, we expect to be hit, and we are ready for that. And and they just run after a ball, and just, but playing football keeps you really fit. Football players at professional level, they're really, really in a very good physical condition. That's very important. Always say, give me any athletic person, no matter what kind of, and you're going to laugh about that. We had these cases of ballerinas, women ballerina moving to martial arts, and they became excellent fighters. And people say, what ballerina? I mean, just try to do ballet once and then to find out what it means.
Doctor, that's the thing I found with football because when I sort of transitioned to boxing, a lot of the footwork, a lot of the athleticism became naturally to me, and I think that's one thing that football it certainly does. I think any sport really does that. If you train in a certain sport, it's going to give you certain agility, certain coordination. So when you pick up a martial art, it's definitely a lot easier as well.
Okay, let's go to, I just want to ask you about boxing. When you came to boxing, I mean, I also boxed for many years, especially when I was going to university in the United States. I was on a boxing team and wrestling team. But when I go to boxing, and you transition from boxing to Muay Thai, all of a sudden you realize many of your boxing combinations do not work, right?
Yeah, doctor, that's exactly what I found out. Also, not on top of that, I saw that a lot of the tendencies I was doing in boxing didn't translate well to Muay Thai. For example, in boxing, it's very common to adopt a bladed stance where your feet are sort of facing inwards. But the problem is, if you do that in Muay Thai, your leg is just going to get completely kicked off, and because it's impossible to check a kick. And I kept realizing that during sparring, so I had to completely adjust my sort of stance in Muay Thai as well.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Right. And another thing, when people, this bobbing and weaving American style, they come and they give very short uppercuts, and this is an invitation for a knee to your jaw.
100%, doctor. I think there was a UFC fight recently. I think it was last year between somebody called Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards. And during the fight, Kamaru Usman, even though he dominated, 5-round fight, he dominated 4 rounds of the fight, but he kept slipping when he didn't need to slip. And Leon Edwards, he's got an elite level fighting IQ. He realized that, and what he did is he set up a trap. Kamaru Usman slipped, and then it was a head kick and knocked him out. And I think slipping is very dangerous when you've got kicks involved because you can easily slip into a kick, slip into an elbow. So that is certainly something as well, doctor.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so which one do you, I mean, I know this is like one of those kiddies questions. Which one do you, when you spar, which one is your favorite? Is it boxing or is it Muay Thai?
I would actually say it's still for me boxing. I think with boxing, because I've been doing it a lot longer than I have been doing Muay Thai, it's easier for me to set up combinations. But nonetheless, I still really like implementing Muay Thai kicks as well. I think having they call Muay Thai the art of 8 limbs for a reason, because you're learning how to utilize every part of your body. And interestingly, doctor, one thing I wanted to ask you is because I know in medieval battles, Muay Thai probably would have been the closest sort of striking, if you could sort of compare it.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. There is one thing also talk to Ivan, our member. Okay, we talked in Spanish in case many viewers of us speak English, they don't know. And Ivan said the same because Ivan also does different martial arts, also realistic martial arts, and he transitioned and he does this sword fighting before he came to Razmafzar. And he also said many people in sword scene are fencers, and they completely misunderstand and underestimate when you are a fighter and use your 8 limbs. So it's not only your sword and your shield, is about the rest of your body. What do you want to do about that, right? you know. And for that, you know, that's the reason I always said, Razmafzar, for me, we translate and transfer and battlefield weapons. Okay, we have Qameh and Qaddare for duels, but these dwellings ended up also in lots of injuries because Qameh and Qaddare are huge swords. But basically, I'm interested in battlefield weapons. I'm not interested in some game of tags, you know. Let's call it for nobility, right? I'm not interested in that type of thing. And it is for me, at least in Razmafzar, very important. For that reason, and then if you come to armored combat, you know, I have two complete sets of armor. One is my heavy armor, which is 32 kilos. Yeah, and it's very well, distributed. I mean, Sergey did a good job, 32 kilos with everything, right? With khaftan, with gambeson, everything, 32 kilos. And one of them is my light armor, which is 22 kilos. So 22 kilo light armor will be an armor of an American special forces in the warfare who have this armor. So 22 kilo is not light, right?
Definitely not light. Yeah.
It is not light. We don't need to talk about 32 kilo, right? But so when you wear armor like that, I don't care how well distributed it is, and Sergey does an exceptional job. You need muscles to carry that.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people say, oh, it's very well distributed. Well, at the end of the day, you need muscles to carry that thing.
I can imagine you need a lot of endurance as well, right, Doctor?
Yes, lots of endurance, and this is also something very important for us, because at the end of the day, when we want to fight, fighting is important, in my opinion. You don't need to do competitions, because each type of competition we do is a compromise. We know that. You know that. We always say, what is the more realistic one? We all know, for example, Muay Thai is very realistic. Boxing is realistic. Wrestling is realistic. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is Sambo, MMA, Kyokushin Karate, full contact. All of them are realistic. But at the end of the day, they're all compromises. Because if you have something in your hand, whatever it is, then the whole game changes.
100%, yeah.
Right. It doesn't, I was just talking to one of a very good fighter here on this channel, and I just said it back then as well. I mean, okay, people always talk about the knife, the reality of knife. But what can you do against a good knife fighter? I assume I'm a good weapon fighter, right? But if you want to disarm me when I have a khanjar or a card, well, okay, I come with my knife and you grab it, then my punch comes. I'm not going to wait that you disarm me, or my kick comes, right? Yeah. But then you don't need to talk about you need to talk about the weapon. If a guy is a fighter, now hold, a pen in your hand changes the game. Two good fighters, most of them, let's stick to Muay Thai, let's stick to MMA. Two good fighters, same level. Give them a pen, one of them a pen, and he hits like hell. Yeah. Then you see everything changes.
Yeah, you're completely right. It changes the whole game.
You don't need to have a khanja, of course. This is one thing which is important, a realistic approach there. And another realistic approach for me, Usman, is, because now we are here and talk about it, is cutting tests. Because cutting tests with weapons, when you're on the higher levels, shows you the power of a shamshir or any other weapon. Because if you don't know that, you cannot realize. I always say, back then they went hunting, right? And on those hunting, they went against wild animals with a shamshir. Yeah. Okay? So we all know how wild animals can fight. What is the chance of a human being against a chimpanzee? Nothing. A chimpanzee kills the strongest human being like that. You don't need a gorilla. A chimpanzee kills you. But then I always say, if they go against Asian lions with a shamshir, right? Then the question I always say, would you dare? You're a heavyweight UFC fighter? Great. Would you dare to fight against an Asian lion empty-handed? Of course not. Only an idiot would do that. But they did it with the shamshir. Now, someone is standing in front of you with the shamshir. How on earth do you think you can disarm him?
It would be impossible.
You see, how on earth? Yeah. A lion can't, and you want to do that, you see? So these are this realistic approach in it. And part of realistic approach, that's why I really love to know, and when you send your application to me, that you did do boxing, Muay Thai, because realistic martial arts are not conceptual martial arts. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying conceptual martial arts are bad. I also like from time to time to train Tai Chi and to do many things. I train different martial arts, but without practical martial arts, realistic based martial arts, you don't know what pressure means.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
I completely agree with that, doctor. Yeah, because as you say, doctor, you know, even when you're training boxing, there's a certain disconnect until you really get into sparring and boxing. Then you actually see how it is to get punched. It's a completely different feeling. You know, when you're actually in a sparring ring, you're actually getting punched, you feel the pain. It's really different.
Yes. I mean, you know it as a boxer. The first time we get punched in the nose. Actually, now it's okay. You can punch me in the nose. I mean, what can happen? It breaks. So what? But for many people, just the imagination of bleeding from the nose is a huge thing, right? You know, and you know, now as an academic, maybe I shouldn't talk longer about that, right? You know, for example, or for many people, you know, like a guy came to me many years ago, because sometimes I don't do it anymore, but I did it individual based self-defense classes. And the guy came to me and said to me, this is the funniest thing. And said, well, I want to learn self-defense, but because I have weak joints, please don't apply any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu type of submission. You don't want to learn that? No. I can apply it to you. So yeah, you can, but you don't apply it on me. So, yeah, but you need to feel it. No. Okay. That's the first. Okay. The second one. And I don't want to be punched in the face, because I see you have scars, multiple scars in your face. You can see it when you're close to me. Yeah. So I don't want to have any scars in my face. Okay. Now listen. And I don't want to be leg kicked because I have weak knees.
Oh my God.
And I just said, you know what? You are now in Germany. I cannot say it to you because it's forbidden. But if you lived in the United States, I would have told you, go and get a gun permit. Or you don't need a permit even, go and get a gun. Right? Because with such an attitude, how can you learn self-defense?
100%. Yeah.
You see? So, but then I realized, I talked to another colleague of mine who is an experienced fighter. I said, Manusha, most people are even afraid of getting the cut in their face. They're really afraid of that. And I just said, why are they afraid of getting a cut in the face? It heals. Say, yeah, you say that, but people don't think that way. You see? And, you know, and then they want to defend themselves. Excuse me to say it very openly on this channel, because then realistic self-defense, what is realistic self-defense? So we need to go through, and then the pressure and many other things. That's why I really like it. And now let's go to the horsemanship and archery. What type of archery do you practice?
So I actually practice some archery, doctor, and right behind me, in fact, I've got a bunch of quivers.
Oh God, this is unbelievable.
I've collected a lot of arms and armor over the years, so I'd love to show you that later as well, doctor.
We will do another video. You can show me your bows. How many bows do you have?
I've got about seven types of bows. Yeah, and I've got loads different variety of swords, tabars, khanjars as well. So I've got a lot of different weapons.
Okay, and what is your heaviest bow, poundage-wise?
Poundage-wise, I used to have a bow which was, I think it was roughly 84 pounds. But I actually sold that bow because I want to increase in my poundage. So I'm going to order another bow, which is going to be roughly 100 pounds at 28 inches.
So, Usman, I heard you do also archery and riding and horsemanship as well, right?
So I've been doing archery now for about 4 to 5 years, thumb draw archery, and I really enjoy it. Something that I try to do every single day. And with horse riding, I try to get as many lessons as I can. Ideally, I try to aim for 1 to 2 lessons a week with my horse riding.
Perfect. Can I see your quivers?
Yeah, sure, doctor. Right behind me, I have a lot of different quivers.
Very good. Yeah. We will make a separate video and talk about your quivers and your archery equipment. 100%. And how many bows do you have?
I have altogether, I think 6 bows. 6 bows altogether, might be 7 actually. But I'm always continuously changing my bows as well, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to aim for a draw weight of 110 pounds.
Very good.
So the last bow I shot was 80 pounds, and I was consistently pulling that with ease. But I've actually sold that bow now, and I'm trying to increase my poundage. So hopefully I can just carry on increasing until I get that goal of 110 pounds.
Yes, exactly. 110, 120, and sometimes even more. There were war bows, because all these 30 pounds where people shoot. I mean, this is, you know.
Yeah. Doctor, I'll tell you something remarkable. With my archery, is I at first found it really difficult to go up in draw weight, and then what I started doing actually was I started incorporating Persian meals into my daily conditioning, and then I found it a lot easier to increase my poundage.
Have you ever tried with kappa there?
I haven't. I've always wanted to try that though.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if you can buy it, but in London you can buy everything. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
Where did you buy your meals in London?
So this set of Persian meals here, I got from a good friend of mine. I think he sources them in from, I'm not too sure where he sources them in from, but he sells different types of Persian meals, and these are really high quality. I found them to be really excellent as well.
Yes, I can tell they're high quality. I mean, how much do they weigh?
So I think this is a 16 kg together, so an 8 kg pair. I've got a smaller pair here, which I believe this is an Indian meal, however. Yeah. And this one's, I think it's about 4 kg, so a lot lighter.
It's very fascinating to see a British guy using kg, huh?
Not many people use the kg.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, very good. And do you also use different arrowheads for your archery practice?
I've got different types of broadheads, but I haven't. I know I've seen some of your collection, Doctor, where you've got some fantastic looking arrowheads from the crescent head I saw last time.
Yes.
But I haven't actually shot with different heads. I've got whistling heads actually.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, with those nice arrowheads, also like welded steel, those nice ones. You are going to ruin after a while your nice arrow.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They're so expensive, right?
Yeah.
And shaft, and then this traditionally made boom and feather. I mean, you cannot shoot with that every day. But
and that's why I hate using wooden arrows, because my wooden arrows always break. So
always.
I find carbon arrows, they last forever. So that's why I just love shooting carbon.
Yes, absolutely, because this is something which we need to take into consideration. Do you also have a traditionally made bow, a composite bow?
That's actually next on my to-do list. I've always wanted to source a composite bow. I think the problem, I've got one bow in mind, which I think I'm going to purchase within the next year, but I think the waiting time for that is 1 to 2 years. So it's a very long wait, but that's definitely next on my list.
Just let me know about swords. What type of swords do you have?
I have many types of swords, Doctor. In fact, I would love to show you some of them if I can bring them here, Doctor.
Okay.
So this is perhaps the most unique piece of my collection. It's an Indian Khanda, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but it's very unique, and I especially like how it's got razor blades on the sides as well, and it's very, very sharp.
How old is this one?
I don't think this is an antique sword. I don't think it's an antique version. It looks too good to be antique.
That's right.
Yeah. And then I also have so this one is I bought recently. I think I got this one last year, maybe. If I show you the handle as well.
Where did you get this one from?
This one I actually sourced from India. I found that there's a lot of people who make swords in India, and they're quite easy to ship over as well.
Yes.
And this is the handle.
But I don't know, what is the legislation in the United Kingdom? Do you need to pay VAT if something comes from India to the United Kingdom?
So far, I've only had to pay import tax, which can sometimes be really expensive. So that's the only thing. But I think sometimes tax. But I think it's to do with luck as well, whether or not your package you have to pay the import tax on it.
Oh, okay. How much is it? May I ask how much is import tax in the UK?
I think it varies. So I think this sword here, or the shamshir, was roughly, I think, cost me about 420 pounds in the UK, and the import tax on this was about 90 pounds.
Oh, of course. Then it's like in Germany. It's quite a sum, right?
Yeah.
And did you have it made in North India? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was North India.
Yes, there are
Yeah,
Muslims who do these swords. I know which area
yeah,
they.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
Muslims in India.
Yeah.
And is it sharp?
No, it's not sharp, but I have another sword, a talwar, and I think this one's I think this one's sharpened. I believe this one in here is actually sharp.
Ah, yes, it is. I can tell.
And this one, if I show you the handle,
Ah, yes.
yeah, yeah. And then finally, Doctor, I have one more shamshir I would like to show you.
Sure, please.
And this here was the first shamshir I purchased. This was about 4 years ago, I'd like to say. You can notice that one of the pieces here is missing. So I got this sword for a bit cheaper than it usually would be. I'm not too sure if you picked it up.
Where did you buy it?
This one was from India as well. So a lot of my swords are sourced from India,
Okay.
North India. Yeah.
Okay. Do you train with them?
Doctor, if I'm honest with you, when I first bought them, they were just more because I've always been fascinated by miniatures. I've got an Instagram dedicated to Persian, Safavid, Ottoman miniatures. But after discovering the Razmafzar channel and I saw all the various combinations and I saw your solo training journey, ever since then I've been trying to do combinations with them. And that's one of the main reasons why I joined your organization as well, Doctor, so I could really learn and grow as well under this organization.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Do you have also a shield? Do you have a separ?
Yeah, I do. I've got I have two separs. I have smaller separs over here.
Excellent. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And this is the padding on the other side.
Excellent.
And then the other separ I have, which is a big one, is this one here.
What is the material of this one?
I'm actually not even too sure myself. I know that it's covered with leather over here.
Yeah.
But,
Can I see the back of that?
Yeah. So the back is like this. One of this has come off, unfortunately.
Where did you buy this one from?
This was from India as well.
Unbelievable.
There's a lot of sellers in North India, and because of my Instagram account, I always get like non-stop DMs showing me new pieces, and I always get tempted whenever I see get the DM.
That's right.
Yeah.
Can you tell me or tell us about you have a fascinating Instagram. I'm going to put the link here in the comments section here. Can you tell us about your Instagram account, please?
Yeah, so I set up my Instagram account about 2 years ago. And I think the main reason why I actually set it up was because it was to do with the Mughal Empire originally. And it was actually from going to the British Museum so many times. I'd often look at the miniatures and I was fascinated by them. And then slowly but surely, I thought to myself, not many people can actually access these miniatures. It's not widely accessible. Many people do not see it when they're scrolling through Instagram. So I thought that would be a great opportunity to sort of spread not only history, but also these miniatures as well. And now I've sort of expanded where I don't only just post Mughal miniatures, I post Safavid miniatures, Ottoman miniatures as well. So, I've been doing that for 2 years now as well.
Oh, very nice. And I'm sure you've been to the Wallace collection as well, right?
Yeah. I've been to many museums in England. I think that my favorite museum is the Leeds Armory. That one is fantastic.
Yes, they used to be in the Tower of London. Is that the Leeds Armory which moved all those things from the Tower?
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah, and they moved it into a whole other museum. I think in that museum they've got some. I think one of the armory they had is Mughal India as well. I think is a large piece of elephant armor that exists in the current time, and it's truly spectacular.
Yes. Okay, very good. May I ask you, why are you interested in Mughal India?
Yeah, I think a big reason is, of course, my ancestry. So I come from Pakistan. My father comes from North Pakistan in Peshawar, and my mother actually comes from Lahore as well. And interestingly, Doctor, I'll tell you something very interesting. In India, it's very common for people to know what sort of caste they come from. For example, people know whether they come from a Rajput caste, My grandma, she used to always tell me that she came from ancestry, it was called Chuktai in Urdu or Persian, and that essentially comes from all the way from Chagatai, which was one of the sons of Genghis Khan. And that, when I initially heard that, that got me really interested. And slowly but surely, that led me going down a rabbit hole of research. And then by doing that, I just became very fascinated by Mughal history. And I think the extraordinary thing about Mughal history is that when you study Mughal history, you really understand the connection it has with different empires. For example, the Safavid Empire and the Ottoman Empire as well. So that's one of the main reasons why Mughal history for me is just so fascinating.
The interesting thing is, now I don't want to get into politics, but maybe not. Why can't we talk about it? As you know, the language, the official language, lingua franca of Mughal India was Persian. You know that, right? So they used Persian. And unfortunately, after the British involvement and colonialization, the first thing they did, they tried to get rid of Persian, right? And replace it with English. Now, before people, because I'm Persian, manuscripts, but I'm not the only one who says that. This is a historical fact. We're talking about Northern India. For example, I remember my last book, which is about the Aid to Sight, which is a sword classification written by a Persian who lived in India, served India, a Mughal empire, and he writes in Persian about different sources and classifications of swords. And among them are Indian swords, among them are Ottoman and many things, Persian. He talks about different, also European import blades and also imitation of import blades. And he talks and classifies them. A very knowledgeable person. If you speak Persian, because this was already translated and some people mistranslated, misunderstood, but this was Mirza Lutfullah who did it. But if you go back and also look at this Nujumul Urum, which in the Getty Library, they already say it's Persian. Sometimes it's translated as if they say a text is written, now listen, and it has Persian words, Arabic words, and Hindu words. What does that even mean? There is a language. The translation into English was translated this way. You understand? And I don't want, you know why they did it that way. Even Getty Library says this is a Persian manuscript. There is a base language. You can use Hindu words in it. You can use Arabic words in it, but the base is Persian. So when I was reading, if I understand everything, then it should be Persian because I don't speak Arabic and I don't speak Hindi. You understand? So it speaks volumes, right? So, and what I want to say, and because as you know that, I mean, I don't need to mention that. I'm sure you've heard from your parents how much Pakistan culturally shares with Persian culture. You know that, right? Everyone knows that. Everyone.
My grandma, she can actually speak Persian as well. And it's very common in Pakistan for people to still be able to speak Persian. So my grandma, she can speak fluent Persian.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I didn't know that. Really fascinating. Wow, I didn't know that. I'm really happy to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that. I think it was in one of the meetings between Iranians and Pakistanis where the Prime Minister of Pakistan, I don't remember his name, he said, actually now we need translators. But a couple of years ago, we didn't because all of us spoke Persian as well, as lingua franca, he said.
I think in the national anthem of Pakistan, a large part of it is in Persian as well. So, for example, Dr. if you used to listen to it, you'd completely understand it.
Yeah, I completely understand your national anthem. I listened to it. And a couple of years ago, a Pakistani colleague, a researcher, sent it to me. I said, do you understand that? I said, yeah, I understand everything. What is it? And he said, it's national anthem of Pakistan. I said, well, why do I understand this one? So I remember that. Very fascinating. Okay. And then before we go, and then you do in your Instagram account, it's a very fascinating. You have lots of things about Mughal Empire. And could you just tell us a bit more about your Instagram account before we move on, please?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the reasons why the Mughal Empire, as I mentioned previously, is so fascinating is because they had great relations with the Safavids and the Ottomans. And many people do not actually know that if it wasn't for the Safavid Shah at the time, perhaps the Mughal Empire wouldn't even be here, because I believe it was Babur's son, Nasiruddin Muhammad Humayun, who actually lost the whole empire. And it is actually incredible thinking that, imagine his father, he done this momentous achievement of of conquering the whole of India, and then you give it to your son, and your son loses the whole of the land. And Nasir-ad-Din Muhammad Humayun, he was at one point actually a refuge, just walking through the barren lands of Hindustan with nothing. And then he actually went to the Safavid Shah at the time. I'm not too sure what the Safavid Shah at the time's name was, but essentially he gave him all the arms, everything that was needed for Nasir-ad-Din Humayun to go back and reinstate the Mughal Empire within Delhi. So many people do not know that, but the Safavid and the Mughal relations are truly fascinating as well.
Yes, truly fascinating. And one thing which is really sad, also from my colleagues in India, many colleagues in India told me that they find it really, really sad, because after the replacement of Persian, you will not believe how many, I already translated many things on swords and on archery from Persian into English and interpreted in different articles. And many of them, not many, some of them definitely come from India. And my colleagues in India told me many of them are in libraries, basically rotting away, right? And the reason is, what's the reason, right? Okay, but you know that, right? And then they said, they asked me if we could cooperate and do that. I said, of course, I'm already. So it needs tons of manuals. For example, just one thing for our colleagues, just to remember what Persian culture means, right? And many people don't know what Persian stands for and what kind of language of culture it was. It was like French for the European culture back then. The reason I'm saying that, in Iran alone, okay, in greater Iran, also, even if you come to Iran today, I mean, Iran used to be huge and smaller, but you will not believe it, over at least between 600,000 to 1 million handwritten manuscripts are there. Most of them are not worked on, although Iran has one of the best universities. That there are so many university technology and many things. We don't want to go into detail, but you know what I'm talking about. The level of universities in Iran is really high. They're working on it. So I gained access to them for my research. But because many Iranians, that Persian poems, philosophy, and all these things they're interested in, but warfare, that's not very Persian, right? Right? And the Persians were like Chinese, they're academics, right? But then I changed it. But the thing is, when I was doing research on my arms and armor, and I found a lot, then I found out lots of them are in India, written in Persian. But then I also found out when I was in Iran, you're going to laugh about that, there was at least up to 100, over 110, I cannot give you the right, 117, 18 maybe, about when you go to the bath or public one, how you wash yourself. So they argue, one said you need to start from the feet, how you just do that, and they write in detail, like a book, how to wash yourself. And then I just said, maybe I just try next time I go and take a shower. And it's just to hell with this book, because easy work. You need to sit there for like how many hours to do all these things, right? So fascinating. And there are also lots of books in Persian. Some of them are translated also and interpreted, but most of them are not, about cuisine, Persian cuisine. Some of them are about Persian traditional medicine. I think many people are, and they're not worked on. That's what we are talking about. And also in Mughal India, I just need to mention that there are so many Persian manuscripts written, and for us, for you and me, interesting, many of them are on warfare and sword classification, archery, many things, right? So and it is really a fascinating area, but because, you just cannot come and say, I always say it as well. I just give it before, so, okay, you're talking always about India. And I go and talk about my country. In my country, of course, Iranians are always proud of their heritage, but mostly, sadly, and I try to change it, Iranians are either in love with ancient Iran, means Achaemenids to the end of the Sasanian period, or after Sasanian period, right? Yeah, this is ridiculous. And I always said that. I don't want it. I really don't want it. Or either you're this side or that side. I'm not into that. If you're talking about the continuity of a culture And I don't care what kind of religion they practice. Back then, Zoroastrianism, which is still there, but then Islam is we are not talking about these things. So if Mughal India, right, they were in India, right, or they were Muslims or not, it doesn't mean anything, right? We cannot come and say, okay, now we only do research on what Hindus did, right, or what, these type of things, in my opinion, be it in Iran, be it in India, be it anywhere else, from academic point of view, cannot be accepted. And I mentioned something for us, Mughal India, right, back then, Safavids were Indians. You understand? They write about them Indians, people from India. They didn't talk about, oh, they came from somewhere else. You understand what I mean? The whole Persian manuscripts, they call them Indians from India. And they said, okay, today there is a sultan and we talk about this, that. And then they said there is a king in the south in India and we talk to them as well. You understand? So they didn't say, oh, these guys are Indian, those guys are not Indians. They're all Indians for them, right? So, and then that's the reason we cannot reinterpret something which is in our liking, or, we like or dislike, and try this, okay, in the past, you understand what I mean?
That's why, some of the work you're doing is truly incredible. I've seen a lot of the interviews you've done with B. Dwyer, where you sort of look at these archery manuscripts, and they've been so incredibly fascinating, Doctor. Honestly, the works you're doing is so invaluable, and I really wish that my Instagram account can really help to promote Razmafzar as well, because I think everybody should have access to what you're doing. It really is great, Doctor.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, with Pete, Pete has been working with me for how long? 2004, I think we started.
Wow.
You can imagine that long, right? It's like working together for so many, and I translated many manuscripts. Then we sat over it, we interpreted it, we put it in. What could we do? And then, for example, we came back. It was fascinating because we know, okay, borrowed cash, right? We know that borrowed cash, or sibil cash in Persian, mustashro, right? So we know that, okay. And everyone said, like in Arab archery, okay, Arab archery, right, which is heavily based also on Persian, or all these things. But anyhow, they said this is the best. But then we found out when I translated, one of the manuscripts said, no, you cannot say it's the best. People from Isfahan like Sormekesh. So here, right, eyebrow draw, they like that. And then they say, okay, people from Qazvin say, no, these two are not good. Sinekesh is good, chest draw is good. So you see, when we come and say, because Hayden, is a very good archer on our team, and he always does borrowed cash. I say, Hayden, I don't care if you like borrowed cash. We need to shoot all, right? It's just, and Hayden can shoot both sides very well, and that's what's fascinating about. Very good archer. And one thing which is also interesting for me, then I found out, for example, Rishkesh. So Rishkesh is like bird draw. So it's not here, and it's not here, it's here.
Wow.
And, it's here. It's not here. There is a difference between borrowed cash and Rishkesh. And I found it in one of the manuscripts. But before, everyone thought they're all doing borrowed cash. No, there is Rishkesh. Here, not here. And then we went through, as you know, that, for example, Changal Bas, then we went to Bahrami, then we went Murabba, Mudawar, Shirdas. Okay, we found 5. I found translated 5. Okay, 5 way of grasping the bow grip, 5, and 4 positions where you put this. 4 times 5 gives you 20, right? Okay. But then the manuscripts talk about standing position, parallel standing, kneeling position, sitting position, and on horseback, and then try not to combine all these possibilities. Right? And then they say everyone has his favorites. Okay, guys, back then there was only his, right? So, well, everyone has his favorite, but you should practice all. Okay, now it comes, and I was just thinking, okay, we have so many weapons in Razmafzar, right? And we have so many techniques of wrestling, striking, and that. So basically, the only thing you need to do in your life is to train, because there is no way, it doesn't matter if I train every day, but still it's not enough, because I also need to work, right? Imagine, you as an archer, you know that. Just try to train all these combinations. And then, by the way, in Persian tradition, with sword, not because if you only train with right, this is not acceptable. You need to train with left. Why? Because we have dual shamshir. If you only train with right, how can you do it dual? You know, this swinging with the way I do, people don't realize because I'm ambidextrous. If you're not ambidextrous, you know what it looks like? You have one sword here which doesn't move and you just do like this. You see? But you see, you need to be ambidextrous in archery as well. But you know, it's possible, of course, it is possible. It's like writing. You can also train to write from both sides. But you know what it does to your brain. Just try to write from both sides. You see what it does to your brain. It's possible, but it takes time, right? But, you know, then when you come to this and you think about the amount of dedication these people put into that, right? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Right. It is really unbelievable.
And you know, even just the nuances of the technique is it's really astonishing. Like as you were mentioning, just with the archery, like you think just moving it a bit down, that's a whole different technique. It really is astonishing just how intricate these techniques were as well.
Yes, yes. And then they also said, unfortunately, some of them do not. I have more archery manuscripts. I think at the moment I'm talking to you, I have 12 more. But I don't have time to translate them, but I'm going to do that. But then my colleagues from Iranian museums called me, oh, we found another archery manuscript. I said, oh God, again, another archery manuscript. Another one. And also, you know, so these things open our eyes, right? Also, you know, for example, in my, like crucible steel, patterned crucible steel, Gohar Name, the book of Gohar, or precious, it was translated as precious stones, but Gohar, it doesn't mean only precious stone. In today's Persian, it means. But back then, they called gold also Gohar. They called copper also Gohar. They called crucible steel also Gohar. So everything which was pressure, coral was Gohar. Everything was Gohar, right? So and then Gohar Name, there is always part of it is also about crucible steel making. But then you realize, okay, then crucible steel was also for them something like a jewel, something precious. Yeah. You see, and then you go through that and then you read that and then it opens a world of mystery to you, right? And then it's unbelievable, unbelievable. Currently, I'm working on a book which talks about transformation of our coloring and dyeing stones. So, and then they do it also in crucible. And now you're going to, the same crucibles, they did crucible steel used for dyeing different stones. So, you know, these type of things open a new world for us, right? And I found just recently, I'm not going to that direction because I'm going to get lost for that, in that. And it says different Safavid period cooking books.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But you know, I think maybe you saw that a friend of mine has one of the biggest restaurant in Europe, in Kish.
I thought that looked fantastic as well.
Yeah. You know, Furia is a great guy. When you come to Frankfurt, we go to him. He's a great guy.
Even the interior, doctor, was so beautiful inside. Yes. With the paintings and everything, it looked amazing.
Yes, and the paintings are made by hand by an artist who came from Iran, right? Yeah. It took like a couple of weeks to do that. It's not like a poster. He painted that on the wall, right? And then he told me, you know, and then this cooking book says, for example, okay, now look at this. Get 4 lambs, each one of them, I don't know, 14 kilos, something like that. Then prepare them, right? And then he talks about how to prepare these lambs. Then eat them with your family. And I said, what the hell? You were in his family for lambs. And he said, and then he talks about how to feed the court of Safavid court. And then they get this, they put this. And I was talking to Furia, not during our interview. Furia, you need to revive this tradition of Safavid cooking. And I said, yeah, but we definitely need to change the size.
Sizes.
Isn't it fascinating? You know?
Fascinating.
Fascinating, these type of things. Absolutely. Please let me just know, do you also, or have you also trained in grappling arts? Anything with grappling so far?
So interestingly, with grappling is my cousin who coincidentally lived in school to me. He's actually an MMA fighter, and he's trying to make it as a professional MMA fighter. So he trains 6 to 7 times a week. He barely takes a day off, and he does a lot of grappling. So whenever he does come round to mine, we always grapple, but he always gets the better of me because he's seasoned in grappling. But definitely, grappling is something that I really want to get into as well.
Very good. England, United Kingdom has very good fighters, and these days they're winning many matches. I've seen that, right?
Yeah, surprisingly, I think especially with the boxing scene in the UK, there's a lot of boxing gyms. I think boxing is really popular, and also the level of boxing gyms are also very good as well. I've been to a few boxing gyms away from not in England, not in London, and the boxing gyms out of London, they're not as good as the boxing gyms within London. From what I've seen, all the boxing gym within London are very high quality as well.
What about Muay Thai? Is Muay Thai a big thing in?
Muay Thai, I think, is definitely growing in size. I think over the years, Muay Thai is certainly getting bigger because before, 5 to 10 years ago, MMA, Muay Thai, these were stuff which really wasn't established in England. But I think slowly but surely they're starting to increase as well, especially Muay Thai. I think a lot of people enjoy Muay Thai. They enjoy the striking aspect of it, and I've definitely seen that increase especially within London.
What about BJJ? Is BJJ a big thing?
Yeah, there's a lot of BJJ gyms. Even there where I live, there's like about 3 to 4 gyms in the area. So yeah, BJJ certainly is a big thing here as well.
Okay, very interesting. It's good. It's good. And how many days? You just mentioned it in the beginning. How many times per week do you train?
So I was training about 4 to 5 times a week, but if I'm honest with you, Doctor, after watching your solo training journey, your consistency has just completely inspired me. So I'm actually on a bit of a solo training journey myself. I've done about 16 days now, no rest, training every day, and I'm trying to just keep that streak going, trying to train every day. And with my recovery, I try to do active recovery. So, for example, if I am on a rest day, I try to go for a long walk if I'm recovering. But other than that, 4 to 5 times a week, I try to go to the boxing gym. Maybe once a week, I try to get a Muay Thai session in as well.
Oh, very good. Do you do also endurance training, like running, swimming, or things like that?
So I used to do a lot of running, Doctor. I used to actually represent my district in athletics. My go-to running was 800 meters. Wow. I've always been a long distance runner. For me, whenever I go for 100-meter sprints, my starting off is not too good. Starting off the blocks are quite slow, but once I get going, I can run on quite smoothly and efficiently as well. So athletics is something I've been doing for quite a bit of time as well. I try to run 5Ks, 10Ks. I try to get a 10K in every other day as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Because endurance is also but you do it for boxing anyhow. Boxing is based on, how can you box without endurance?
Yeah.
I did also a lot of Muay Thai because Muay Thai and Kyokushin are very interrelated. The good thing about Kyokushin is, right, it's like Muay Thai. If I don't want to have so much spending of energy, you know what I do? I just knee and low kick, right? And then I can preserve my energy.
Yeah.
In boxing, you cannot do that.
I don't know. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so in Kyokushin or in Muay Thai, when I get tired, I just say, okay, these guys don't want to understand so much. I just go switch to knee and grab knee or low kick. But in boxing, the guy is always over you. You cannot grab him, right?
And that's why they say with boxing, road work is so important. It's so important for you to go for the runs and get that fitness in with boxing. Yes. Yeah, but I think with other disciplines, I'm not too sure if it's like that in jiu-jitsu, for example, where you have to. But with boxing, it's almost like a prerequisite that you have to run. You have to be able to run.
Yeah. One more thing, which is also very, because I started as a kid, is also important to do is wrestling. Wrestling, Olympic wrestling is one of the toughest sports, and he's all over you. In jiu-jitsu, I can hold him, I can have him in guard, and I can, like in Muay Thai, I can keep that guy. But wrestling, I mean, he doesn't have a gi. He's always over you, and you cannot full guard on him. You cannot do stuff like that. It's always pushing and pulling you all the time. So it's just also wrestling is also you need endurance.
Wrestling looks relentless. I watch when my cousin does train. I see him train, and it's a lot different to boxing. With wrestling, you're doing a lot more. I would say you're doing a lot more, not calisthenics, but you're doing a lot more stuff which requires you to be very strong and have a lot of muscle in wrestling. Whereas in boxing, you don't need to be the most muscly person. Wrestling, you've got to be big, you've got to be able to hold a lot of weight as well.
Yes, you need, in wrestling, without muscles, you cannot wrestle. How can you wrestle? Of course. Yeah. Perfect. So what I'm going to do, I'm going also to send you the links, Usman, and then I'm going to supervise you directly if you wish, so you can just train and then send me them back, and then one day we can have also seminars when I teach, and you can come if you wish. But this way you can go into your journey of practicing Razmafzar, of course. Do you have also other weapons like khanjar, like other things?
I do, Doctor. I can actually show you some of the weapons I have as well. Yeah, the first weapon I've actually, Doctor, it's a tabar. It's an axe.
Yes.
But one thing I always wanted to ask you, Doctor, now I can speak to you, I can finally ask you, is I've always wondered what this is and what's the practicality of it, because I know a lot of Persian axes that have a hammerhead at the back. I've never actually seen this before.
Okay. Do you have you have axes, right? And these, okay, they're in general, in Persian we don't make such a differentiation, but we have in Persian we say tabar, we have tabarzin, we have zaghnul, right? Zaghnul is this hammer pick, right? Okay, forget about that. And we have also nachach. Nachach, one side is like a spike, and the other side is this. But then there is tabar. Some tabar have this axe. Then there's also double tabar. But some axes, they look like this. But saddle axes or tabarzin look like this, and they have a hammer behind, right? They have it shorter. This, what you have is a tabar, and these tabar mostly, not all of them, some of them have also a spike on top, and then they have a hammer here, but some of them have a spike on the back, which bends a bit. Some of them are straight, but some of them are like a hook. The hook serves like that you can axe the guy, right, and then hook him, and normally the hook goes into part of his armor, and the guy says, okay, yeah, but you can also hook the body. Well, I mean, if you hook the body, I think then this guy is gone, right? I mean, people don't understand the mechanics of fights, right? I mean, you need to be a full contact fighter. Now, if someone doesn't have the full contact experience, be it boxing, Muay Thai, be it MMA, right, or wrestling or whatever, I mean, I don't like that so much. So I always tell him, Razmafzar, you need to practice one of them next to boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, whatever. I want you to do contact. But then we need to understand, when I was in Iran, and Hayden loves this, but it's a real truth. And I was teaching, and there was a seasoned Muay Thai fighter. But he made the biggest mistake. The mistake is, if you go to Thailand, they never spar hard. Not like they only fight, but they spar lightly. But he sparred every day hard, right? So as a matter of fact, when he talked to you, you could tell he sparred every day. You hear me, the way he talked, right? So, and then he wanted to learn in a seminar, Razmafzar. I said, okay, guys, get your protection. So they have these historical fencing masks. It was not armored combat this. And I saw him standing there. I said, get your protection. And he said, I don't need it. I said, what do you mean you don't need it? And he said, this is hard. I'm not joking. And he's, I can take it. I said, man, I do also Kyokushin and Muay Thai. These swords are not sharp, but one hit of an unsharpened shamshir on your skull, you get fractured skull, you die. What the hell are you talking about? No, I can try. I said, you can try, damn try, get out of here. I'm responsible for safety of people here, get out. And then I was later on, I said, how can't you understand in a weapon fight, it's not different from throwing flesh and bone at each other. How can't you even understand this is a weapon? And it doesn't matter if it's not sharp. It's a piece of metal rod, right? That was something which was very important. So basically, if you fight and hook the guy, bring him, then you can turn it and hit it. So you don't let him escape. Yeah. So you see that again. I've seen also we have neze with hook as well. Yeah, exactly. That's the hook. Yes. You have neze with hook like that. Right. Because that hook you can just, even if you go like that, you can hit here and this and pull it back, right? Yes, for pulling. We have neze like that. In my first book, Arms and Armor from Iran, there is a neze, right? So it's a spear, double-edged, very sharp, crucible steel. Then it has two hooks. Then here, this area is barbed, so you cannot grab it. Because one of the things you cannot grab that. Yeah. Of course, you had, normally when you have a basu band, you have glove. But the glove is not going to help you when you have barb everywhere. He just pulls it and then your whole hand is gone. The hand is gone, right? Yeah, it cuts you through skin and flesh and goes to the bone, right? So these type of things are there. So do you have also a mace?
That's the one thing I do not have. I have a nazir, I have a qard, a qatar even, but I don't have a mace. That's something which I don't have, unfortunately.
Do you have a khanjar?
Yep, I have a khanjar right here.
Can I see that? Very good. Yes, very good. Yeah, excellent, excellent.
And then this is quite a unique one.
Ah, Qatar, yes.
Oh yeah, and actually,
double one, yes.
And I've always felt for boxers especially, this is probably the most practical one because you could just easily punch someone, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Push daggers are very dangerous. If you box, you know how to box, push daggers are the most dangerous things in a boxer's hand. Absolutely. There is no way out of that. There is no way out of that. No way. No way. Yes, no way. The only thing with the push dagger, which is, again, I'm saying, look, I'm not, people always say, if someone has a card in his hand or a khanjar regarding fight, how can I fight? Have a card or khanjar in your hand. I said, what? Yeah. I said, yeah, if he has a weapon, you're not going, what the hell are you going to do? If you have a khanjar, yes, then we can fight. But without, you can't. You basically cannot do that. People don't understand that, and that's very. But the one thing about this is, as you mentioned, that in the hand of this punching, and so very well. It transfers. You can actually transfer all your boxing, be it the hook, be it uppercut, be it everything, to a kata. Cross, jab, everything transfers. And even more, because then you can also do like back fists to cut, right? Like a curated back fists or whatever, or chops. So this is with this one. And when you have it here, as you know that, for example, you put it here, this also protects your hands, right? So these bars protect you. So this is very, very nice. And what else do you have to train?
I have this is a card, I believe.
Ah, wow.
Yeah.
Very nice, yes.
Yeah. And then finally, the last piece of my collection. It's a nazir, but I believe it's a two-piece one. I don't think it's anything too impressive. I think it connects with another piece which I have down there to extend it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it will do the job. It will do the job.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No problem. By the way, just before I forget, do you also have an armor?
No, that's the one thing I do not have. I've got a lot of costumes, like Mughal costumes from the era, but I don't have an armor. that's the one thing which I want to get as well.
Oh, okay, yes, yes. You need just to, when you have an armor, please make sure that you go to someone like anyone like Sergey who knows how to make an armor. Because if armor is not done well, you're going to get heavily injured. You see what I mean? And if you want to do armored combat, because you know that the armors I have, you can hit me the way you want, as long nothing happens. I got so many hits on them, nothing happens. But if they are, for example, if they mass it up with hardening it, with making it correctly, you get injured, right? And this is something different, something which.
I've seen some of the works. I've seen some of your armors, a Safavid armor, especially. And Sergey is obviously a master at what he does. Some of the works he's done.
He is. He is such a great guy as well. Very. I mean, he's actually an artist. To be honest with you, not because he's on our team, I'm saying that, but I have never ever seen anyone who can make armor like him. And many people know of his Safavid armor. He makes Safavid, he makes Persian. He also wanted to do Sasanian, but then I need to do it one day. But he does Ottoman, he can do Indian, but many people don't know. He made excellent Japanese armor. Yes, he makes Japanese armor. You think they are made in Japan. You cannot tell because, Japanese kept their tradition. You know that. He makes any Japanese armor you want. He makes Chinese armor, real Chinese armor. They're like fabric, and below that, plates. And many people don't know that it's not that he cannot do that. It's not his favorite. He likes everything Middle Eastern and Asian. He loves doing it. Whatever from Asia and Middle East, he does. But many people don't know. He can also make European armor. Yeah, he can make plate armor. He can make whatever you want. It's not his favorite, but just to understand that what he does, and one thing which also helps him, he's not only an artist, he's also an engineer. So you see?
That explains a lot why he's so good at it.
Yeah, he's an engineer. He knows how to do things like that. And he makes Caucasian armor. Okay, they're not as complicated as Persian and Ottoman, of course not, but or Indian, they're not as complicated. But he can also make Caucasian armor. He makes many things, and for that, I always say for make such high quality armor. Look, the Safavid armor he made for me. You can put it in a museum. That type of armor he makes. That type of quality, and they're all hardened. They're all really well made. I took so many hits in armored combat, nothing happened, nothing. And I've seen many people got, cracked armor. This was cracked. That was my armor, and nothing happened to it, right? So that type of armor we are talking about it, Usman. That's the way he makes. And I also can make gold inlaying on that. He can make many things. It's very fascinating.
Hopefully, in the future, when I definitely purchase some armor, I'm definitely going to go to him.
What we did with armor, all of us who have armor with him, we always did it piece by piece. Otherwise, it's going to be very expensive. For example, I started with the bazuban, right? So I had first bazuban, I don't know. Then I had a helmet, right? You know what I mean? Then I had this, Unless you have really, but no one does it that way, the complete armor, And then the good thing is that he takes the measurements, right? He knows exactly the measurements, and he can adjust it. Because, armor, you cannot go to a shop and buy armor. If I have a weapon, okay, I have a weapon. But an armor, I cannot just buy an armor, put it on my body. It needs to be for me, right? Made for me, for my measures, right? Sizes. Yes. Okay, Usman, tell us a bit. Do you want to add something to our discussion of today, please?
Yeah, so, one of the things I wanted to add, Doctor, is how your solo training journey, that's the reason which inspired me. That's how I first came across Razmafzar interesting as well. Doctor, your consistency has been remarkable. I think you're on almost is it past day 500 now?
He says 600.
600, yeah, that's the one.
I reached 603.
Yeah, and that is in itself, Doctor, is a huge achievement. I can't wait till you reach day 1,000 as well. That's
Yeah.
going to be some achievement.
I mean, okay, before that, I was a seasoned martial artist, and okay, now during this journey, I passed the second degree karate Kyokushin, third degree black belt karate Kyokushin. In Kyokushin, they don't give you belts like that, right? It's one of the hardest karate styles. It's not that, and I'm going to do soon this my black belt in BJJ in grappling. But anyhow, this is something different. But one thing which is important for me, because I do with Razmafzar, I do Kyokushin, I do practice sometimes this Wing Chun inside, and also kickboxing, Muay Thai. One thing which was for me important, and for this solo training journey, when I started, I think I told you, right? I was, okay, that I always wrestled, and then I don't know why I had a very, very severe back injury, very severe that much that doctors told me, oh, you need a surgery on your back, and I rejected that back because I destroyed two of my vertebrae, and then it was very bad. So what I did, and when I did these endurance fights with my sword, and so back then I did, many people don't know, if you look at my endurance fight, I hardly kick. It's not because I forgot the kicks. I was black belt in Kyokushin. I was always a good kicker because I couldn't. So the whole time when I had armor and all those armored fights I did, I had severe back pain. I couldn't kick. The only kick I could do was a low kick. I had even problems. Okay, I could do front kick to the belly, but that's it. But I was a guy as a wrestler, because I come originally from Greco-Roman, and then I did freestyle. I'm still more into Greco-Roman. I don't like freestyle that much, but okay. But they could come and grab me. And that's like in Muay Thai, they grab me and they do like this, and it never worked on me because I'm a Greco-Roman wrestler. I mean, Muay Thai grab. Okay, so what, right? And then, but one thing which is like that, and I could kick here to head. That good a kicker I was. And when it happened, I was really, and I said, I don't want to have a surgery, I'd switch my kicks. But I couldn't. It was even before I started the solo training. But solo training I started just when the pandemic started, just like that. But what happened was, before the pandemic started, in an MMA gym, but it was a wrestling session, I was wrestling a heavyweight. Much more. I mean, back then my weight was 83 kilos, and this guy was 120, and he fell on my knee. So I have people see that. You can see in my old videos that I have like a jack brace, and I couldn't walk for 1 year, only like this, right? And so then they said, okay, I could either operate, but the PCL 96% was torn, 96. And PCL is not like ACL. If it's not 100% gone, it could grow back, right? And I knew that, for example, many American and Iranian wrestlers tore ACL. You need to operate. You cannot. There is no way. But PCL is normally you need 500 kilos force to break, rupture. So I had that guy. I had that force on me. Well, it was very sad. So I worked with 1 year with that. You can see me in seminars teaching Razmafzar, also in Iran, in older channel with that. When I started that, I said, okay, back, leg. I remember the first day, you see that in the first solo trainings, I am bandaging my knee. And so I started doing ande katas, because I wanted to do 30 second dan and karate Kyokushin. So Kyokushin, many people don't know, because Kyokushin is very famed for its fighting. And unfortunately, okay, with all due respect, guys, many fighters in Kyokushin just want to bang today. They're Muay Thai fighters in gi, right? And why I say that, when Oyama was alive, he said he didn't accept that. He said, you need to do kata. But after he died, many people just, because katas, imagine, I do only Kyokushin 39 katas. 39. Do you know what 39 katas mean? I tell you what it means. If I do it in normal speed, I need 1 hour, 20 minutes. Okay, now imagine 1 hour, 20 minutes of movements you need to memorize. Do you know? Slight inch in karate is not acceptable. Even in 1 inch is not acceptable. People don't understand. Forget fighting for once. Best brain training and much better than reading. Do you know what? You transfer what you know here to your body. So, and then when I started this, and I went back to katas again and again, because I knew if I want to do second dan, I need to do 39 katas. They're going to ask, not only fighting in Iran, and Shihan Nazari, God, he's tough. So and I trained. Then, for example, if you're, sorry to talk about, and then I always loved Wing Chun. I know I'm coming from Muay Thai, boxing, and so Wing Chun, but many people don't know. Many katas of karate Kyokushin, Gojo Ryo, which Kyokushin comes from Gojo Ryo and Shotokan. And if you do Sanshin, and if you do Tensho, when you come and like Tensho, you do these things, right? Or when you do Sanshin, this one, and you do this. You look at the Wing Chun as, okay, without weapons, has 3 forms. They're almost identical. And when you add to the father of them is White Crane Kung Fu. So then I started to search, okay, what is White Crane Kung Fu? Okay, I trained with very good Wing Chun practitioners, very good. So I learned all the forms. I learned weapon forms of Wing Chun. And then, because I come from Kyokushin, try to find, and then I trained White Crane, not all of it, but because I cannot just learn everything, because my brain is going to fail. So then Wing Chun forms, Karate Kyokushin, then weapons of Wing Chun. Then Kyokushin has a bow, only bow as a weapon. Then I know that 3 katas there, so it makes it even more, 41. Then this and this. So then I learned everything in Wing Chun and this. So Wing Chun like 3, and it has a pole, which is 4, and it's this sword, right? So 5 forms of Wing Chun, 42 of Karate Kyokushin, all here. And we are not talking about boxing and Muay Thai combinations. So then during this solo training journey, I trained and trained. And you're going to laugh about that. We say that Oyama trained 1 year alone, right? That's what people say. And he says in his book that he was missing people, so he became friends with animals. And I always said, what the hell is he talking about? And in some of my videos, you see that those geese come and sit.
Yeah, I was about to say that, Doctor. Recently, I saw one of your solo training videos, and the geese were literally sitting by, and I was thinking to myself,
yes. Yeah. When my wife comes with me to go for a walk, or my kids, they escape. They know me. Geese, ducks, pigeons, crows, all of them know me. Believe me, they know me. Because they know this crazy guy comes here and does strange movements. He doesn't do anything. So they come just, sometimes I train and the duck just walks past me, just close to me. A swan comes, looks at me and goes. So, and then I became friends with them. And then I realized in my solo training one thing. I'm not saying it's bad. But I've always asked myself a question. When I do training, why do I train? I train to get better and to fight, right? So people say I learn it martial arts for self-defense purposes, okay? Or I learn it because of fitness, which to me, I always say if you want to do fitness, do yoga is much better, right? Excuse me to say that. Self-defense aspects should be there. If you say you don't want to learn it for self-defense, you have no business in martial arts, in my opinion. With all limitations, I know a weapon can change the whole thing. But the second thing you need to ask yourself, who uses a weapon in a street fight? This guy should be a thug or a mafioso or someone, right? You see what I mean? So that's a different thing. But still, normally you can defend yourself, and that's important. So this is one thing. Okay, if you on top of it, you want to defend yourself, I understand, and many things. But then I realized in many dojos, when people fight, they have ego problems. Mm-hmm. And believe me, Usman, and people who know me, train with me closely. If we box, let's stick to boxing. And say, okay, Usman, let's do this. Okay, do a Muay Thai. If you hit me, I never, ever get angry, want to hit you back. Never. The only thing I say, great job, excellent. If you submit me, the same thing. But you know what? Many trainers are not like that. They're not like that.
Doctor, that's something which is unfortunate to see. You see it in a lot of boxing gyms, especially when in London. there is a big ego problem. A lot of people, they go into sparring with the aim of hurting the other person. And I'll tell you an interesting story, Doctor. I remember when I first started boxing, it was probably my second sparring session. And I went sparring with a guy who was a lot more experienced than me, and he actually knocked me down, Doctor. And after that, I felt so demotivated to carry on boxing, but I stuck at it mainly because of my friend who's also won like multiple championships in boxing. So he said to me that what that guy done was wrong, but you got to stick by it. And thankfully, I stuck by it. But now that I've had like 4 to 5 years experience in boxing, I just think to myself, some people, like I can never imagine myself doing that to somebody else. But some people, they just have such a big ego in these gyms, you see.
Yeah, and then I can say something and that people understand. Not that I'm saying they are like Meccas are the best places, but I just give 2 anecdotes. One from Thailand, one from Iran. From Thailand, I give this anecdote. If you go and try in Muay Thai gyms in Thailand, first of all, they don't beat you. Yeah. Right? It's not like in Europe. It's not like in the United States. They don't do sparring. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Only light sparring like this.
Yeah.
They hit hard the bags like sparring. That's why they can fight 200, 300 professional fights. Because if you expose your brain every day to this, you're not going to have a brain anymore. Right? You want to fight? And a Muay Thai fighter, they always smile in Thailand, but if you hit hard, he comes to you, boy, you want to fight? Tomorrow you go to the stadium. But not here. They don't allow you to do that. In Thailand, they don't allow you. Very Asian. Respect each other. Yeah, they don't allow you. You want to fight? You think they always talk like that. I love the way they speak English. You're good? You think good? Fight stadium, not here. Excuse me, I imitated them. So I love the way they talk English. I really love. I can listen to them hours the way my Thai guys talk English. I love that. This is one thing which is lovely. And then the second thing, in Iran, wrestling is part and parcel of Iranian culture. Wrestlers are tough. You can see Iranian wrestlers, Greco-Roman, freestyle. And when you look at them and you look at the bodies, they can just fight in every UFC. But, one thing, we say Pahlavan. And, we say Takhti, for example. He became Pahlavan. He became Zukhane. You cannot be, Pahlavan means champion, but you cannot become Pahlavan. We had people who had 3 times world champion, but they are not Pahlavan. Pahlavan is someone where the community says, this boy respects us, and they bring money to the poor, cook for the poor, and they protect people from harm if it needs be. For example, against thugs or whatever. And becoming a Pahlavan in Iran is not only becoming a world champion. So that's why when you go to wrestling clubs in Iran, there is something about that. But then you come, when I came wrestling clubs in Europe, right? I mean, there was nothing like that. God, such big ego.
I think a lot of it is to do with, like you mentioned, culture as well. I feel like when there's a disconnect between the martial art and the culture, there seems to be this problem. For example, there are some Thai gyms in London who, like you said, they uphold this sort of conduct where they have good conduct. And I think a lot of it is because it's a sort of enrooted within the Thai culture to have this sort of respect. Yeah, and I know Iranian wrestlers, they're known for their respect as well.
Yes. Yeah. But the reason I'm saying that is what happens in solo training for me, all of a sudden, I had the nature which showed my limitations. So what I did was, today it's raining. I don't care. I need to protect my camera. It's hailing. You can see my solo training. I don't care. Okay, it hurts when it hails. I had to tell you. But I said, okay, and I got cuts actually. But I said, okay. It was minus 12 Celsius. The whole lake was frozen. I trained. You can see that. I went when I was in Gran Canaria. Oh, you're going to get shocked. It was like 40 in the desert. I trained solo training. Yeah. So I just said, no matter what happens, I do my solo training. But in the middle of that, the nature constantly showed me, you boy, you think you're tough. You're not. You're nothing. So nature became someone I had to fight against. And all of a sudden, I realized another thing. I realized in kicking, I understood the katas. Why do I have this stance? When you are in a gym on this nice ground, it's very nice. You can do many different kicks, but not when you're outside, right? You understand? And then all of a sudden, most importantly, solo trainings taught me one thing: no ego, purity, martial arts, nature, and me, no ego. Now gyms are open, right? And I know many people, many martial arts go, manager, come and train with us. And I can't do that anymore. Just recently, I know it's not nice for us. I'm sorry. Hey, this is Manusha. What happened to you? I went there and I said, everyone wants to prove himself, herself. And I said, oh no, I don't, and I'm not going to teach Razmafzar here. So they have all ego problems, this guy. You're good for competition. I said, look. What kind of competition? They're talking about weapon training. What kind of competition are you talking about? We are not talking about the Muay Thai competition. I don't want it. I don't need this ego. Get to work on this. I don't want it. You know, I think I realized that only after I started solo training. Seriously, I was always not a big thing of these things of ego and this, but solo training, Usman showed me the limitation of gym training, excuse me to call it that way, in the West.
Yeah.
Very individualistic, very this and that. And now, let's put it one word on which I know many people, maybe we can transfer it from that. People talk about, okay, what is this? What is the worst thing, as Chinggis Khan said, like in his Yasa? I'm not going to tolerate any individual heroic act. If someone leaves the rank and goes and kills some of the enemies, the executive, I don't want it. Keep the rank, keep your position. You need to be one. And this is, I think, one thing which is important in real battlefield-oriented martial arts. Lots of ego is there. But one thing I need to say, and this is maybe you agree with me, the more realistic a martial art is, the more humble people become. You know, again, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Those conceptual martial arts, which they don't hit hard, they do game of tag, everyone, keeps running his mouth, right? But once you get punched in your face, as Mike Tyson, whom I really like, I adore this guy, he said, everyone has a plan until he gets punched in the face. Right? Right? I think it humbles you. Wrestling humbles you. You think you're strong, and the guy picks you up and throws you, and you say, okay, I'm not that strong. You think in boxing you have a good punch until you're punched into your jaw, and you say, oh God, everything cracks, right? Oh, Muay Thai. Actually, they're the best to humble you, to see and to show you how limited you are and how much you need to work. And that's why I mentioned it again. I repeat it. I'm not a fan of conceptual martial arts because it also doesn't humble you. Yeah. If I just go like this and hit you a bit and then make a point, and this case, no, I'm good because I made a point. It proves nothing. It proves that you had the fastest reaction. And then, by the way, you cannot cut like that in a real fight. You cannot. Cutting is not as easy as people think, right? Things like that. Very good, Usman. I'm really happy that, actually, you have everything. You don't have any equipment problems, so you can train. Right? Excellent. I'm going to send you this link, right? So for the guards in Shamshir and Separ, that's where we start. So you can take a look at that. With you, it goes very fast because you can transfer lots of positioning of Muay Thai and boxing into that, but more Muay Thai because you need to stand a bit more frontally because if we do leg kicks, right? Yeah. You cannot stand like that. It's impossible to do that because your leg is gone then, right? But you know that. You do Muay Thai as well, but then we will do that. Do you have any other question you would like, or you would like to add to this today?
That's about it, Doctor. First and foremost, I'd just like to thank you for all the work you've been doing, Doctor. It's really been excellent. And, your solo training journey, like I mentioned, that's also been fascinating. And thank you for providing me with all those the reflections as well, because a lot of people train, but a lot of people aren't consistent with their training. And I feel that, Doctor, you're somebody who's extremely consistent, and only when you're really consistent with your training can you begin to sort of taste the fruits of the labor as well. And that's what, Doctor, you've done tirelessly over the years as well.
Thank you very much. Just I need to apologize, Usman. In the beginning of our discussion, I realized that my battery was running low, so I had to connect, and that's why I was going, oh God, I'm going to be disconnected, right? So I need to find the cables, and that's why I was reaching out where the cable was. My apologies for that in the beginning of this, right? Okay. Thank you very much, Usman. We will stay in touch. I'm going to send you this link. So for training, and then you follow that, send me back the video, and then I will make comments on that, and then we will go ahead from there, right?
Thank you so much, Doctor. It's been honestly a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Take care. Take care, Doctor.